But before we get to our climate change hour, as I've just dubbed it, let's talk about the BBC. The Director General of the BBC said this week that he was healthily paranoid over whether or not the TV licence is good value for money. He said that at the moment we're doing pretty well. He said that if households started to feel that 159 quid a year wasn't value for money, then the BBC would be in trouble. Well, I'll have to tell you, Tim, I haven't met anyone who goes around saying, oh, that 159 quid a year, that's really good value. Netflix is cheaper, seems like better value to me. Is the BBC worth 159 pounds per year of your money? Is Tim Davie, the Director General, being rather complacent when he says he's satisfied that the majority of the people think it's value for money, think it's a real bargain? I don't think they do. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Let's talk to, from the Freedom Association, Andrew Allison. Good evening, Andrew.
Good evening, Kevin.
159 quid a year. I don't think it's value for money. Do you?
Well, it's great value for money if you actually use the BBC all the time. But if you're like me, and I suspect you, and you don't use the BBC very much, then of course it isn't great value for money. And also, on what he said, since when was paranoia healthy?
Well, I think it may have been a clumsy phrase, but if he's nervous about whether or not the public feel they're getting value for money, I think that is a healthy state of mind for him. I don't think the conclusion he's reached is at all healthy, which is we are doing a pretty good job and most people think we are value for money. I don't recognise that as being the case. All I ever hear is people moaning about the BBC.
And that's all I ever hear as well. And I moan about the BBC a lot. I don't watch it very much. I don't find the drama particularly compelling anymore. Well, the comedy isn't just funny anymore, is it? Just because some so-called comedian can come up and say, well, I think that Boris Johnson is a whatever. Yeah. And then they get a round of applause and a laugh. Well, I just don't find that funny. And I wouldn't find that funny about Keir Starmer either. It's appalling. You mentioned Netflix, and I have to admit that's the best value, sort of, I think about 10 quid a month that I pay for each month. It's just brilliant. There's anything that you want on there. I've been watching through some episodes of the Sunderland Till I Die.
That's great, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, and I'm not a football fan, Kevin, but I found it really enjoyable. And I find lots of great drama on there. The Queen's Gambit was a good one from last year that we watched.
So the streaming services are definitely the future. And next to them, because of the great number of dramas and documentaries and films that they offer, next to them, the BBC doesn't look particularly good value for money because it spends so much of its cash, on social projects and not forgetting. He thinks it's value for money. Why, Tim Davie, are you spending £100 million of our money, licence fee payers' money, on diversity? Why is there a commitment by BBC Three to make sure that the all of its comedy output is female led? Why don't you try and make it funny? Do you know what I mean? Why all this money they spend that isn't on programmes and programming? I would say that doesn't add up to good value for money for the licence fee payer.
It doesn't, and it's because the top brass of the BBC have the same metropolitan mindset, the same outlook on life. It doesn't represent people from the north of England, where I am, or from the Midlands, ordinary working class people. It just doesn't represent it. Those people who are, in general, sort of loyal watchers of BBC television, well, they're regarded with contempt, and they're just not interested in them anymore. So for the BBC to become relevant, it's got to get back to what it used to be. When I was growing up, in the 1970s and the 1980s, the BBC was a trusted voice. You could guarantee that you're going to have impartial news coverage, but now it's completely different. Yeah, go on, sorry.
That's a good point. Recently, the BBC prides itself, everybody trusts us for being, impartial and balanced when it comes to news. A recent poll, 94% of the people polled said they didn't trust the BBC to be impartial when it came to news. 6%, only 6%, said they trusted the BBC as a news supplier. So there's another area where Tim ought not to be complacent. But I mean, also at the prime time points, they've been putting on cheapo productions like Gordon Ramsay's Bank Balance.
That was awful.
This Is My House, Perfect or Pooch Perfect. These are productions that cost about 3p, and they're going on at 9 p.m. This is not good value for money.
No, it's just trash television. And that Gordon Ramsay one was awful.
Beyond belief, wasn't it? Yeah.
I couldn't even work out how it was supposed to work.
Nor could I.
Completely confused.
On balance, it was absolute rubbish.
Yeah, it was, and the BBC thought they were going to put this out every night of the week, at 9 o'clock in the evening, and somehow or other clean up on the ratings. Well, that was never going to happen. I mean, when it comes to sort of BBC News, I remember being invited onto BBC Radio Scotland a few years ago to argue against the licence fee, and they said it's going to be broadcast on a Sunday morning. I said, "Oh, great! So you want me live then?" "Oh no, we'll find a BBC studio near you, and we'll record an interview." So why was that? Well, simply because they had 3 guests live on the show who were all in favour of the licence fee, and all they got from someone who was against the licence fee was edited highlights. Yeah. And that just sums up the BBC.
Yes, like their Brexit coverage. And now we're going to speak to a panel full of people who will tell you the slightly different reasons that they support Remain. I mean, it was ridiculous, and they admitted they got that wrong. So they've got to get that kind of thing straight, and I think they've got to produce what they used to do, which was great drama.
Exactly. And ITV is certainly much better at drama and has been for many years than the BBC. And then you look at the sort of the wokery that goes on. Doctor Who, which was a very, very popular program that used to regularly bring in very large audiences. It's gone so woke now that it's viewing figures
exterminated by absurd wokery. Jodie Whittaker, great actress. She did a okay performance as Doctor Who, bit derivative, I thought, but it didn't work. It got terribly woke, and the audience is tailing off to almost nothing.
Yeah, exactly, and that is the problem. And so the BBC needs to look at itself very seriously and say, what does the ordinary man in the street want? Or man and woman in the street want? What do ordinary people want out of the BBC? They want trusted news coverage. They don't want to be told that they're thick and stupid because they voted for Brexit. They want some entertaining television, some really good comedy, some really good dramas on an evening. And frankly, the BBC is failing. But I did write a report. It was just over 7 years ago, and I'm mentioning the license fee. And I said that the BBC basically is clinging on to an analog funding solution in a digital world.
It's an
eventually technology will take over.
You're absolutely right, Andrew. It's an outmoded business model. And it has to accept that the license fees, at the very least, is going to change, if not disappear. But it does seem to be stuck in the past. I totally agree with you. Hey, listen, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. Very interesting discussion. That's Andrew Allison there from the Freedom Association.